The movie Greedy People begins with Captain Murphy in her late son's bedroom, narrating a dream she had the previous night. In the dream, her late son was coming back to her, but there came a storm that was destroying everything, bringing death. She then leaves for work. Officer Will Shelley and his heavily pregnant wife have just moved into Providence, where he has been assigned his first duty as a police officer. At the station, Murphy tells him that he will be riding with Officer Terry Brogan for a few weeks, as he gets to know the town. As officers Will and Terry start their first day together, they hilariously talk about themselves and get to know each other. As Will introduces himself at a coffee shop, the owner recognizes his name. After that, Will tells Terry that his father was a bank manager who turned bank robber and went to prison for 15 years. His father's actions made his family lose everything, which is why he decided to become a cop. Paige goes to the store to buy some paint for their new house, and as she talks to the owner, a man known as the Irishman walks by. The store owner, who seems pretty shaken by him, tells her that he is a killer for hire and a dangerous man. Terry drives to his girlfriend's house, and Will is a little hesitant as they are on the job. Terry assures him that he will not be long and informs Will to alert him if the man of the house appears. Terry, however, takes his time, and when a call on the police radio comes in, Will can barely get to him due to the loud music. He is forced to leave alone and respond to the call, one he interprets as a burglary in progress. Will gets to the said location, the Chetlows' residence. He tries to identify himself as police, but the woman, Virginia Chetlow, is listening to music on her headphones and doesn't hear him coming in. Will shoots at her, and this prompts a struggle between them. Virginia tries to strangle Will, and as they push back and forth, Virginia falls and impales her head on the dining table, dying on the spot. Shortly after, Terry joins Will and is in shock after realizing the trouble Will got himself into. Will tries to explain that he was answering a burglary call, but Terry tells him that the code given was for a sexual act in a car violation and not a burglary. He also explains that Virginia is Wallace Chetlow's wife, the richest man in town. Terry decides to call it in, but realizes that he will also be implicated since he was not on duty when everything was happening. As he paces around the house for a solution, he stumbles over a huge chunk of money in a basket. They decide to keep the money and make it look like a burglary gone wrong. They then head to a traffic stop where Terry writes a woman a ticket, despite being slightly over the speed limit. He does so to create an alibi in case they are named as suspects in Virginia's murder. After that, Will and Terry respond to Virginia's murder call. They interview Wallace, who swears that nothing in the house is missing. As for suspects, Wallace says that only one person could have been in the house at that time, a masseur named Keith. They then drive to an isolated storage container where they hide the money and promise not to tell anyone about it. However, as soon as Will gets home, he tells Paige about it, but manipulates her into thinking that it was Terry who killed Virginia Chetlow. Paige suggests that they invite Terry for dinner so that she can see whether he can be trusted. The next scene is a fast backward into Virginia's murder, where the masseur is upstairs witnessing Terry and Will take the money, while Virginia's body lies in a pool of blood. Keith then jumps through the window and escapes. The following day, Terry and Will head over to interview Keith. Keith lets in on some details about her relationship with Virginia, but fails to mention that he was at the house at the time of the murder. A second flashback is that of Mr. Chetlow when he walks in on his dead wife, but does not look so bothered by it. At work, he confides in his secretary, Deborah, that the Colombian he hired to kill Virginia did a good job, and there will be no one standing in their way henceforth. The Colombian then calls Chetlow and asks to see him. On the day of the murder, the Colombian is seen going to Chetlow's residence, but finds Virginia already dead. The Colombian then explains to Chetlow that he did not kill his wife, noting that someone else killed her before he got there. The Colombian insists that he still has to get his payment, and Chetlow has no idea where the money went. He gives him 48 hours to deliver the money. At dinner, Terry tells Paige that he became a cop because he was bullied in school, which made him want to become a powerful person. As he leaves, Terry runs over Will's dog, which he apologizes profusely for, but seems to have done for on purpose. Later that night, Paige asks for the combination of the storage container's lock. Captain Murphy informs Terry and Will that Chetlow's company is heavily in debt, and he stands to inherit a lot of money from his wife's life insurance, making him a suspect. Terry and Will follow a lead in a hotel where Chetlow is a regular and find out that he was having an affair with his secretary. Captain Murphy then receives a call from crime scene detectives who informs her that Terry's and Will's fingerprints are all over Chetlow's house, which raises suspicion. The two officers then report back to Captain Murphy that Chetlow might be their suspect due to his affair, but the captain informs them that security footage at the shop shows that he was at work all day. Paige runs into Terry, who sarcastically apologizes over the dog. He also issues her a threat and tells her to watch her back. This prompts Paige to look for a way to contact the Irishman. After Murphy visits Paige, Paige goes to meet the Irishman. She contracts him to kill Terry, but she has to find the money first. Having the combination of the storage container, she gets the money and uses some of it to pay the Irishman. Wallace, who is now under pressure to meet the Colombian's deadline, decides to go question Keith and find out whether he took the money. Will also wonders what Keith might be hiding and decides to investigate. Meanwhile, Terry is ambushed by the Irishman and a contest ensues. Terry is badly wounded, but his girlfriend helps him get the better hand. Chetlow threatens Keith about the whereabouts of the money, and he says that the police took the money. While Chetlow is questioning Keith, his mother shoots at him, which causes Deborah to kill both Keith and his mother. Both Will and the Colombian witness it. Will heads over to Terry's to tell him the good news, that all the witnesses are dead. Terry is not having any of it, as he suspects that it was Will who tried to get him killed. At gunpoint, Will drives to the storage container as Terry suspects that he has taken the money. Captain Murphy also gets notified of their movement and decides to follow them. Upon reaching the storage container, Will finds out that the money is gone. Terry orders Will to call Paige, who confirms that she did take the money to secure their future. Without a second thought, Terry kills Will. Captain Murphy arrives at the scene, finds Will dead, and immediately calls Paige to break the news. Paige tries to make a run for it, but Terry catches up with her. He chases her down the road and tells her that it was Will who killed Virginia. Luckily, Captain Murphy intervenes and shoots Terry. A few days later, the Colombian is seen in the hospital disguising himself as a janitor. Paige has just given birth, and Captain Murphy is asking her if there is anything she knows that can help solve the string of murders. Paige, adamant about keeping the money, denies knowing anything about what happened. As soon as Murphy leaves the room, Paige tries to dress up so that she can get away but is ambushed by the Colombian. The Colombian kills her and takes the money with him. In the elevator, the Colombian is joined by Deborah, who is armed. Gunshots are heard, and when the elevator opens, both of them are found dead, with the money scattered all over them. The movie ends with Captain Murphy adopting Will and Paige's son, a silver lining to everything that happened.